How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel, and we are back. The World Cup is over, Messi has lifted the trophy, and Celtic are back in action as well. So as you can see, we're in a little bit of a different setting. That's why we haven't had podcasts or videos on this channel. Just wanted to take a break for the World Cup, enjoy it, embrace it, and take a break away from domestic football and the churn of it, because sometimes it can become too much, and too much football is never that enjoyable. So we are back. A long break is done. The Huddle Breakdown is back. We're back at a new place, and Celtic are back to winning ways. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Celtic 1-0 win over Aberdeen at the weekend. So Celtic are back to winning ways after a 1-0 win against Aberdeen in Pittodrie at the weekend. Callum McGregor back in action and back on the score sheet, scoring the winning goal in what was a tight game in many ways. In other ways, it was an absolutely dominant game. The only way that this game was actually tight was the fact that Aberdeen were just parking the bus against Celtic in this game. Jim Goodwin hinted before the game that he wanted to sort of replicate what St Mirren had done against Celtic when St Mirren beat them earlier on this season. And he did that without all of the positives that St Mirren had in that game. In the St Mirren game, St Mirren were really compact, they kept their shape well, they put Celtic players into positions that they wanted to. They set traps for the Celtic players, and they played very, very well on the counter-attack. In this game, Aberdeen were tight, they were compact. They didn't really put the Celtic players where they wanted to. Celtic carved them open at times as well, and they offered absolutely nothing going forward. So you know what they say about copycat systems. The only thing worse than a copycat system is a bad copycat system, and that's what Aberdeen put out on the pitch. And I just think it showed a real lack of ambition from what should be the third or fourth biggest club in Scotland. They should not be parking the bus in the same way as a St Mirren side. And that's not for me to say that, Aberdeen should have opened the gates for Celtic and let them play the way that they wanted to. But I just think if you're going to bring a club like Aberdeen forward, how does acting like a mid-table side do that? And I was disappointed with the way that Aberdeen set up. I thought they would have went at Celtic a little bit more, especially since they were at home. But needs must, Celtic were winners in the game, and Celtic were completely dominant in this game as well. It may have felt a little tense and tight at times. Following it on social media, you can certainly get a grasp of what people are thinking in real time, but Celtic completely dominated this game. They finished the game with 80% possession. They had an XG of like 2.3 or 2.33 to 0.06, over 30 shots in this game. Kygo had a couple of big chances that he didn't take, and we'll talk about him later on in this video. And Celtic just completely dominated this game. Now, after the game, Ange was asked whether he had a group of really hungry players, and he actually changed the phrase to ambitious. And I think that's a really important differentiation from Ange about this team, because you can have hungry players who are bottom of the table. I mean, most players are hungry, to use a very meaningless phrase, but ambition is a completely different thing. Ambition implies that no matter how good you are, no matter where you are in the table, no matter what you're doing or how many trophies you've won, that you want to continue improving on what you're doing. And I think that's what Celtic have done under Ange Postecoglou over the last 18 months or so since he took charge. They've scored over 200 goals, they've been dominant in most domestic games, and they've still continued to try press on, to try and improve, and to try build on what they are building upon. And that comes in the transfer market with players coming in, and that comes on the game plan and improving the game plan, perfecting the game plan, and making the game plan better when it comes to breaking down teams who sit back like Aberdeen did. Now, you might sit here and think, I'm bumming on about Celtic a little bit too much, and I'm making too much about this performance, given that it was just a 1-0 win. But I think it's very difficult to play in these games. It's very difficult to come back after a couple of weeks break and play against a team that's just sitting back. But this wasn't a game that Celtic were frustrated in much at all. This isn't a game that Aberdeen created anything at all. Celtic were not in danger of losing this game at any point in time. It was a case of Celtic going out and actually just bringing the game to Aberdeen and trying to break them down. And eventually they got there. It doesn't matter how long it takes them to get there. As long as they get there and get over the line, that's the most important thing about these games. Like, teams like Aberdeen are going to sit back. The most important thing is getting over the line, getting the goal, and breaking them down. I would be much more frustrated if Celtic had not broken Aberdeen down with all the chances that they created. It would be frustrating if Celtic came away with a draw because they were the dominant side, but they did come away with the win, and that's what's important in these games back. The key man in this game, obviously, Captain Callum McGregor, the guy who got the winning goal, but he did so much more in this game than just grabbing that goal at the end. He had 170 completed passes out of the 789 or so that Celtic had in this game. He scored the goal, obviously. He had 12 interceptions in the midfield, and more importantly than just his passing and his control of the game, it's what he does to the overall game and the overall structure of Celtic's team. Matt O'Reilly was able to push forward more, Hatate was getting into the box more, and that's really important for Callum McGregor, and that's his role. That's what Matt O'Reilly potentially struggled to get a grasp with. I know he was playing in the Champions League, so it's a little bit different, a little bit harder for him, but that wasn't his natural position. You can see this is Callum McGregor's natural position. Everything was coming through him. Every pass was coming through him. He was involved in almost every build-up play at some point in time, and he was just pulling the strings. He was back where he belongs, back in the centre midfield for Celtic, and I think people will see now over the next couple of weeks what he's going to bring to the table and what he does bring to the table and how good he actually is at that position. I've said a couple of times already, Callum McGregor is the most complete central midfielder in Scotland. I believe that to be true, and I think it was shown on the pitch at the weekend when he was controlling the game to his pace, to his qualities, getting the ball in behind, creating chances, pushing players up the pitch and getting players who are potentially more creative than him on the ball more, and that's what's vitally important for Celtic going forward. Callum McGregor back in the midfield, getting Matt O'Reilly back into his natural position. I think you'll see the impact that he has on the team. I guess the other important talking point from this game is Kygo and Marcus. I saw a lot of people quite disappointed with the amount of game time that Marcus was getting. Given the nature of the game, I can understand why people wanted Marcus on the pitch, especially when you saw Kygo missing a couple of key chances in the 6-yard box, and Marcus probably would have taken them. That's probably where the narrative comes from. I think we can, to steal a phrase from the Messi-Ronaldo debate, why can't we enjoy them both? I think Marcus has a key role in this team. He's probably frustrated at the minute if the reports are true about his contract. And I think Kygo needs game time. I think he needs to build into this season. And Kyogo's still playing very, very well. I think there is this perception that Kyogo's not playing well this season because of the Champions League games, the chances missed there. And I think he's missing more chances this year than he probably was last year. I will confirm that with the lads on the Huddle Breakdown over the next week or so. But Marcus does have a key role in this game. It's not as if he's lacking game time. He is getting game time, he is scoring goals, and he is contributing to the season. Remember, the reason that Marcus got so much game time last year was because Kygo was out injured, and I think down to the overall play that Kygo gets involved in, the build-up play, the link-up play, the passing, the running behind, Marcus doesn't provide as much of that as Kygo does. Marcus does provide in the box striking, and I guess that's why people really, really wanted to see him yesterday. He probably should have gotten a little bit more game time than he did, but at the same time, he will get game time down the line because we have a really, really tight schedule over the next couple of weeks because of the World Cup. So we're playing catch up over the next couple of weeks. I've no doubt in my mind that Marcus will get as much game time as he deserves. So as quickly as we're back in action again on Wednesday against Livingston. Celtic have a couple of home games now against Livingston and against St Johnstone at the weekend, and it's churn. That's what it is, churning out these games. Celtic need to keep up with the churn. They need to keep up with the wins. They need to make sure that they are doing enough to keep everyone else at bay, and that's all they need to do at the minute. They need to get over the line, keep the performances consistent, and consistency has been key for Celtic over the last 18 months under Ange. It has been an incredibly consistent season, incredibly consistent last season as well in the second half, and I've no doubt that that will continue now after Christmas, now that we're back in action and now that we're back chasing the title again. So that's just a few thoughts on the Celtic game at the weekend. What did you think of the game? What did you think of the performance? Let me know in the comments below. We will be back with the Huddle Breakdown at some point this week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how we can fit it into our schedules, but it will be available on this channel. If you want to get all the Huddle Breakdown podcast and these videos, subscribe to the channel just down below. Leave a comment and like the video as well. It's good to be back, boys. Let's keep it going. We'll chat to you later. Good luck.